Hello everyone. A very warm hello from Budapest. I hope you're all doing well. And now on to this presentation. So what I chose as a focus for my seminar paper was the relationship between Joseph Beuys and Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner was a philosopher and social scientist who was writing and lecturing from the 1980s on. In the beginning of the 20th century, he formed a new spiritual science known as anthroposophy. The text of his I felt related most to Beuys's concept of social sculpture was his philosophy of freedom. Part 1 of Philosophy of Freedom's internal text examines the basis of the inert freedom in every human being in their thinking, and gives an account between this knowledge and perception and explores the reliability of thinking as a means to knowledge. Part 2 analyzes the conditions necessary for freedom of action. In human action, the eternal content of thinking insulates it from the effects of external casualties. When it is applied, freedom develops a more moral, root than the light-hearted notion of freedom we come to think of today. So, for example, as a free thinking and perceptive human being, it's not so much about being free and loose and doing whatever you want to do in that moment, but in understanding that through this freedom that you have achieved, you have a responsibility to both your fellow man and to the world at large. As well as his philosophical texts, Steiner gave lectures on many aspects of life, from architecture to agriculture, from schooling to how to work with people with special needs, and to art. I guess what drew me to him most as a subject of study was how practical his philosophy has become, and how many initiatives have blossomed from the seeds he planted in his lifetime. Initiatives such as Campbell communities, where people live in unity with people with special needs on a kind of life-sharing basis. Things like the Waldorf schools, in which children are educated in a way that keeps them childlike and full of wonder and imagination for as long as possible, and it focuses a lot on the humanities, on science, on art, on mathematics, but always, I feel, regards the child as an individual and tries to make them flourish as that, as opposed to fitting them into some sort of box or trying to make them achieve some sort of goal that society sees that they should, as opposed to them as an individual actually can achieve. And why Beuys? Well, Beuys's kind of concept of social sculpture derives very directly from Steiner's text of the Philosophy of Freedom, and also Beuys's persona as this kind of shaman and person interested in alchemy and such ties very closely into Steiner's writings on anthroposophy as well, and the relationship of the cosmos to the individual or to farming. Throughout my seminar paper, I focused on 3 of Beuys's major works, namely his 3 documenta pieces, 5, 6, and 7, all which were very, very focused on this direct, participatory kind of way of making work, which later became coded as social sculpture. I also focused on both men's reliance on the use of blackboards and drawings in order to ground their intellectual abstract thoughts in reality. And I guess namely looking at them both in this role of teacher and lecturer. Honeypot, made for Documenta 6, is in my opinion Beuys's most literal illustration of what it is believed that he meant by social sculpture. An art form and general creativity inherent in every individual, with the potential to change society and to have an effect on the planet as a whole. Honeypot saw Beuys create a space in which there were lectures, workshops, and debates for the 100 days of the Documenta. Also around the space, 2 tons of honey were pumped through tubes, creating a circulatory system and drawing a parallel between the participants of the art piece and how their combined effort could start to help heal the world. Here I quote from Steiner's philosophy of freedom. Genuine art is an affair of the people. Genuine art is essentially social in character. This statement, which can be found at the very beginning of Philosophy of Freedom, is a very clear link between Rudolf Steiner's anthroposophical view on the purpose of art in today's society and that of Joseph Beuys' social sculpture. This elemental desire to see art, and more importantly creativity, as something of a saving grace through which human existence can be realized. Both had very different views on the necessity to compound spirituality and science, rationality and creativity, and most importantly, that it was up to the individual to better themselves in order to be more perceptive, intuitive, and present, to live by example and to question everything always. Here I quote from Beuys. I say only that I have done certain experiments and explorations that have stimulated a discussion. They were in fact only successful once they provoked this discussion. This unwavering trust that humanity has the capacity for such change and growth is what I think will continue to resonate with humanity for many more years to come. As our world becomes more cynical, more ironic, the more I see the need for artists such as Beuys and philosophers such as Steiner. To close, all genuine philosophers have been artists in concept. Human ideas have been the medium of their art, and scientific method to their artistic technique. Again, from Steiner's Philosophy of Freedom.